Taoist Magic Talk Show brought to you by Taoist Master Ji Sifu and King Dragon Taoism. Hurang Tenjun. Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. This is your Ji Sifu again, and today we have a special episode because tomorrow is the lunar calendar October 15th, and I'm doing this episode for that special date. So, what is it all about? Well, you can see from the title, it's related to how the gods actually punish people. Sounds scary, huh? But, well, you do bad things. Hey, you got naughty, you do bad things, you get punished, you get, smacked. So, what is this all about? Now, we got to start from the beginning. We can't just go straight to the punishment, right? There are always good and bad things. There are sweet and there are bitterness. So, in a year, there are three special dates. Okay, these three special dates marks the three sections of the year. So you can see like how we say quarter one, quarter two. In our system we split it the whole year in three parts. So there's this one in the lunar January, like first month, 15th, and then there's this July, which is seventh month, 15th, and then there's the October, 10th month, and then 15th. Okay, so these three special days are marking the three sections, and what it's actually all about is how the for normal people, right? Not Taoists, for normal people, including Taoists. It's about the pre-heaven cycle, like the pre-heaven energy cycling to this world and then cycle back to the pre-heaven side. Now, before I keep going, I got to tell you what pre-heaven is. Okay, pre-heaven is, in our dictionary, it means the world that is before our world exists. The layer, or you can say the dimension that exists before this one that we are in right now exists. And of course, if we want to count, there's so many of them, right? But this is in general, okay, how our previous dimension cycle to here. So from the beginning of the year, okay, the energy from the pre-heaven comes into this world. Okay, so after the first date, first month, 15, the energy start coming in, and it's coming into this dimension where we are right now. And then as time goes on, it keeps going down and down and down, and it goes into our world, and then in the middle it comes back up. Okay, it's kind of like rain, like water rains down from the sky, and then the ground absorb it, right? And then later on in the middle, it's the water comes back up, evaporate, or goes into the plants and whatever, right? It got soaked up by the things here, and then it basically makes things blossom. It helps to make things happen. And then after a while, after that period, October, like now, it's when things are the energy here is done absorbing and done blossoming. So the energy is coming back out from this world and back to the pre-heaven side. It's like we're done breathing in the air. The air goes into our body, it gets processed, and now we're breathing out the CO2. And now it's the CO2 is going back into nature and being absorbed by nature. Okay, so this is a metaphor. It's not actually the CO2 or whatever, okay? It's a metaphor. And so if you look at the whole year in three parts, okay, part one is when the potentials will kick in, come in here. So it kind of aligns us with our direction that we're going for this year. Okay, so you get a like general idea, general direction of what you're doing for the whole year. And then the middle is like the energy is already in the right path and going into the things and making it happen. So after like the lunar July is like things are going to finalize and happen and become like reality. And anything that's not done yet, it will like try to get it happen, right? And then after that, um, the last part is like it's all done. It's all done already. Okay. Now the energy will go back to pre-heaven. So whatever we don't want or whatever we detoxed from this world, right? Whatever like comes out, like like how we breathe out CO2, right? Something that we don't want, we basically push it out and it goes back to nature, goes back to the pre-heaven dimensions, and it cycles like that. So this is a general idea of how energy cycles, and if you do actually pay attention to like how your luck is in the like throughout the year, this is one theory that helps us diagnose what's going on with your luck and what's going wrong with your luck and so on. But anyway, that is not the most important part because you might not even care or really pay attention to that much because it's like, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen anyway. You can't really change it. So there's no reason for anyone to like really try to calculate what's going on and, try to change things. You can't. Like nature has its way of doing things and you can't really change it. So why bother so much, right? But as a Taoist, there is something more. Okay, we as a Taoist need to understand this pattern because not because of how nature is like doing its thing, that part we cannot really control, okay? But it's more about these are the three special dates and period that the gods have set for us for different things that is going on within the lineage. So this is actually like really just related to the disciples of the lineage. Okay, and of course, every lineage or every sect they are like different. So maybe some sects don't like have this thing, but the one that I am teaching and I am in does have this in the system. So I'm going to introduce it for my disciples so they get a chance to like listen to the lecture. And you guys, if you're curious, you can also use this opportunity to learn about it. Okay, so first thing is we need to understand that the gods had its own like office. Okay, like there's a place in the pre-heaven that we call celestial court. And this court is like their office. It's like where all the gods are working. They're like there, okay? So you can go there, actually. You can actually go there when you die if you're a Taoist and you have been doing good. But anyway, some Taoists who cultivated to the higher level, you can also go there by soul traveling and witness what's going on. And it's definitely not like in the movie when you see like ancient China, that kind of vibe. It's not like that, but very close. Okay, not like that, okay, but something like that, okay? Anyway, there is an office, okay? So this is like where the gods are working. Okay, so you understand what celestial court is, okay? Just, tell yourself this is like, where the gods are in the other world, other dimension, and they're not here and not human made, it's not like human went there and they created it. Okay, now, first thing is the beginning of the year. Okay, during the beginning of what am I trying to say? Beginning of the year, that is the time when what we call the sky official. Like this is one of the three main officials in the celestial court system. These three are like they are like here to balance the whole system out and pretty much like they are here to help to like give us the goodies. Okay, so like give us help and things like that. Okay, so during the first month of the year, the sky official, the first one, is here to give us the fortune and potentials and things like that. So if you deserve some good luck, you deserve some good like help and blessings, that is the time when that official is going to help. It's that is like the time when you can submit a letter to the celestial court and tell him like, oh, what is my wish for this year, what I want to have this year, or anything you hope for success and so on, right? You can submit a letter and they will, like, the sky official is responsible for giving you the blessings and potentials for those things, so you will have the opportunity for these things this coming year. So basically, that is the good luck time, right? Blessings raining down from the sky. Okay, so around the lunar July 15th, that is the time for the second official to kick in, which is the ground official. Okay, the ground official, it's very important too. Okay, its job, well, it's to like it's there to help you to learn, and also to give you the opportunity to to like pay for what you have done. Okay, so if you have been doing something bad, that is the time that it's there to like give you the lesson, like to teach you, to guide you back on the right track. So during that time, it's actually a very good time to say, like, sorry, I don't mean to do that, and so on. So that is the time when the official is here to like kick your butt. Okay, and then at the end, like now, is when you have the last official, which is the water official. The water official is the time when they take things back to the pre-heaven. So it's time to like give feedback, right? And well, it's also a good time to like beg for amnesty. So what we mean by that is like, we know we have done bad and we beg for like a second chance, or to delay the whatever punishments going on, and we hope to have a second chance to do better in the coming year. So that is the time you can submit the letter, so that the water official can like see if you're like deserving that second chance. Then they will drag a bit and let you correct yourself. So you see, we have like good and bad times, right? We have times when like the God is here to give us good stuff. There's time when the God is here to kick our butt, and there's also time when we have a chance to actually like say something and give feedback and ask for forgiveness and things like that. Also, the water official is like there to help us bring the message back to the celestial court, right? So if you have anything to say, like, oh, this year is like this, next year I hope to have this and that, well, you can use that time to, say it and put it in a letter and submit that as well. And that is the best time to submit your feedback. Now, why does all these like officials, are there, and why do you have to care about that? Well, of course, a normal person don't have to really care about that because they have no relationship with you. But once you're in the lineage, you are like, you're a Taoist, you're a disciple, right? You get to learn stuff, right? And the God teach you by, using this kind of method to teach you. So first of all, when you ordain, you have like your commandments and some rules and some teachings to read and follow and so on, right? So you look at those things and you do a self-reflect. Are you actually doing good as a disciple? Have you been learning, like, putting your effort in your learning and changing for the better? Have you been doing that the whole year? Well, a lot of disciples might be kind of passive, and then they have been like, haven't do anything for the whole year, and their bad habit is still there, and they can't really get rid of their negative thoughts and things like that, right? You might be like that. It's very common. So instead of just like feeling that, oh, I'm just hopeless, let me drown. well, the gods are giving you a push to let you like have that push by feeling it, feeling the consequence. Like something is kicking your butt, making you feel pain. So hey, guy, it's time to wake up. Right? And then you have these things there, bringing those consequences to your awareness, so that you will actually realize that you have a time like clicking, the timer clicking, and you need to change. You need to improve. There's no time for you to waste. So God is teaching us by, showing us the consequence, for whatever bad that you're doing. This is going to kick in and kick your butt if you don't really care. Okay, so up to this point, what is the main point that I'm trying to bring for you guys here? Like, I'm doing this podcast for normal people, not just my disciple. So why am I saying all these? Because I want to tell you guys, like, how real the God's punishments are when they actually do their job and, try to fix or kick a disciple. So that they exist, and you have to realize that, hey, it's not like you do anything you want. The human can't do anything to you, right? It's like, hey, you're not in front of me. You can't really like beat me up or whatever, right? What can the God do anyway? If you are in other religion, no one might actually teach you this, but here I'll tell you the thing that, when the God actually kick your butt, it's really, really scary, real. And I've seen it many times. So I'm here to tell you some stories of how I see and witness disciple got actually like kicked by the God. And it's really freaky, Sometimes those bad disciples, they have things hiding at the back. Like they don't want to say it, or maybe they're hiding on purpose and they don't want to say it out and things like that. And they feel like, I just need to kind of hide away. It'll be fine. I'll keep doing whatever I'm doing that is bad. And it's fine. I'm not going to say it. No one knows about it. And eventually, the God is like, hey, you're doing all these things at the back and you're not letting your upper know about it. You're like hiding. So we, the God, have to do our job to fix you. And if you are not being like, you're not changing and you don't really get fixed, the God will be like, hey, well, you're like going over the limit. You got to be out. And they will kick you out because you don't care. Right? So how do you know that the God is actually kicking you out? Well, here we got to go back to we have talked about this before, how the God punished people, right? Well, the God is like a mirror of you, like how you are can be how the God are, and how the God is like you will turn into that. So for example, the God wants you out, right? Wants you out of the lineage. You will feel like, oh, I just want to be out of the lineage. It feels like that. It feels like yourself. Right? It's very scary because the God energy is like a pre-heaven energy. It's the same energy as your heart. So when it kicks in, it's like you have that feeling, and by our second nature, we just like stick to our feeling and act based on our feeling. So I feel like not learning anymore and just quit. So yeah, you feel like that, right? But it could be not you. It could be the God like don't want you here and kick you away, and you just like suddenly have that feeling. And well, you can choose. One is that you stick to like our teachings, right? You remember what I said, and then immediately what you should be doing is like you have to tell yourself, hey, that's not right. I should not have that thought. So what's going on? Then you go find out what's actually going on, and you will easily find out because there are tools and things that you can use, and you can ask me. I'll help you as well, right? So once you find out that it's actually the God giving you the message, then you have to stop yourself from like sticking to the thoughts, and instead you have to do things to like remove that, so that like the God knows, you acknowledge that you have screwed up. right? So you have to show the God that, oh, I know I screwed up and I will do this, and then the God will stop like beeping, right? So before you actually do that, the God will keep beeping you, and you can ignore it. You can like keep going and think that it's yourself, right? But eventually the feeling will overwhelm and you will be done. What do I mean by you'll be done? It's like, yeah, you will actually take the action and you will quit, right? And it's very funny because I have seen this many times when some bad disciples, they have things going on at the back, and then eventually, one day they cannot hold it anymore and they just like use some excuse and say they want to quit. But the thing is, like you can see, it's very clear the pattern. Whenever the God is there trying to do things to like teach them, you see like they start to get really weird, like very abnormal. Their action and everything shows. There's like a pattern, we have been teaching so many people and we see this all the time. So whenever like you feel like, I just want to give up, like that, it's pretty much the God is wanting to kick you out. And that is not like the first time. That is for sure like the God have been telling you that you have been doing this, whatever thing wrong for quite a while, and then you don't listen, then the God will want you out. That's basically like that. Now you might be thinking, hey, but isn't the God supposed to be like, forgiving, loving, and so on? Well, yeah, I mean, wait a minute. Don't use other religions' standard to think about like, to compare with our religion here, right? First of all, the God is loving when you are loving, because we said it already. You are like this. The God is a mirror of you. So if you want a God to be loving, you need to love the God first. Okay, so you might ask, well, isn't the God supposed to be giving? Well, are you actually giving? Some people might be like, well, I did give a lot. I have been like doing my money contribution. I have been like supporting. I've been buying your books. I've been like, buying your whatever, your food and so on. I've been like paying you stuff. I'm giving. Wait a minute. The thing that you're giving, you're like, first of all, you got things back for those. Like you're actually paying to get something. You buy my stuff, so you got something, right? It's not like you just give me the money. And secondly, is like your heart. Are you like truthfully just there to give, or are you like giving for whatever thing in return? If in your heart it's like I'm giving because I want, then it's like you did it, but you actually didn't do anything. It's like you're not truthful, right? If you're giving, you're not truthful. Everything that you have done, like the virtue, is canceled out. So it doesn't work. So yeah, sometimes it's very hard to swallow the truth because it's so hard to accept that we have been doing wrong. Especially, I don't know like why, but a lot of like modern, I mean, the younger generation have like a very high rate of quitting because they don't want to be told that they are wrong. When I'm teaching my disciples, sometimes I like just point them out and say, hey, you know what? You should not do this. This is not right. And then they already have issue. I tell them like, you should do this. You should do this. You should not be like this. I just lay it out for them, and then they already have issue about it and want to like argue and say, hey, you know what? That's how I am. You need to teach me like this because I'm different. Come on. I've been teaching like for many years already. You're no different. But yeah, that's how it is. A lot of people these days, they're like that. So really, really hard to teach. But it's common, like whenever you have those struggles internally, like when you're learning Taoism and you have that struggle saying like you want to give up, you want to quit and so on, always remember, like remind yourself, why did you start? I mean, like, why did you start this stuff? Okay, now remember that, then why should you give up? I mean, you have been walking quite a while, you have been doing this and that, outputting this and that, right? You have been spending money, time, energy in it already for such a long time. Why do you want to give up? Right? There's no point of doing so. Now, suddenly you have that feeling. Well, the feeling is there because of a reason. Find out the reason. Is the God actually telling you something, or is it just are you being attacked by evils? Sometimes when you get like attacked by evil energy or evil spirits, you will feel things like that too, because evil always wants you to detach from your Tao and detach from your gods. So they will want to make you like betray them or like detach from them, right? So that they can actually kick your butt. So that can happen too. When that happens, you need to figure out, right? So back to the main thing, okay, about like how the gods, like the three officials, how they teach the disciples in the lineage. Well, they teach by like giving you stuff, at the beginning of the year, they give you more fortune, more blessings, more help. So it's not like everyone gets a lot, okay? How is the amount of help or blessings determined? It's different for everyone. Like everyone, you deserve whatever you deserve. Like that's what the court is giving you. So if you have been really good as a disciple, as a Taoist, the God will give you more, and that is the time when a God can like rain down the potentials for you and like give you like supersized potential, right? Like big amount. But if you are like not really faithful and you really don't like this stuff and you don't deserve it, right? Then the God will like on that day, even it's a giving day, they will not give you much. So it's like, yeah, that day is the day of giving, but how much is being given, it depends on you. So you got to make sure that you're building a good profile, good image in the God's heart throughout the whole year, so that the next year when the beginning of the year come, you're going to get the big prize, right? So this is like very logical, right? It's not like the gods are giving, you pray to it, and it will like just give you anything. Not like that, okay? It gives you what you deserve, right? So have you been doing enough to earn that, right, throughout the year? I'm not talking about like you have been like physically doing things, but more like how is your faith? How's your heart to them? Like how much faith do you have, right? The more faith you have for the God, the more the God wants to give you. That's basically the simple fact right here. It's so simple. You don't believe the God, right? The God don't want to give you anything. It's so simple. And of course, don't make the God angry, right? Don't piss off the God. If you do, you're not going to get anything, even if it's like on a special day. So sometimes it's hard to believe that, oh man, like I am like just a normal person, but how could the God be like punishing me, like giving me, bad luck, or maybe kicking me in the butt, making me this and that, right? How could the God be doing that to me? And I'm just like a, very normal kind of disciple. Well, yeah, think about it. The God has to talk to you, right? So how does the God tell you that you need to improve? The God don't speak like, like a human. They don't speak in English and then tell you things. So how can the God communicate with you? Well, by showing you. So simple, right? Show you by like, let you see that you're getting some bad luck here. You're getting some hiccups here. Well, those are hints for you to understand what is actually wrong and what you should be more aware of. And while you give it some thoughts, you will realize that, hey, I have a lot to change. I have a lot to improve on. You got to accept it. You got to acknowledge it, accept it, and you got to actually work on it. If you don't care, well, then it's like the God's trying to teach you, but you are choosing to ignore the God. So what does that mean? Well, the God is like, well, we talked to you already, and you choose to ignore us. Well, next time you submit anything, like any request, we can just do the same to you. So yeah, you draw like a Taoism fool, or you do a spell, or you do a prayer, whatever. You're like asking the God to help you and communicate with you, and the God is like, oh, this guy again? Oh well, put it there. It's fine. Ignore him, right? The God is like that. The God is doing what you do to them back to you, so you can learn what is right and what is wrong. It sounds harsh, but it's actually not harsh. It's just like because you're told that's how it works, right? It's like no surprise. I already told you that how it works, right? No one is like giving you a surprise. You are told, and well, you can choose to believe or not believe, right? If you don't believe, then you deserve the kick. But if you believe, you should be aware and you should like really make changes to impress the God back. Um, in like in the older generation, Chinese, they always have this like. Well, to me, when I was young, I feel like they are always having this like subtle hidden fear for the god. It's like, don't make the god angry. Don't piss off the god. Don't like offend the god. You're gonna get punished. It's always like those things that made me feel, how come the god is so evil? Like it wants to punish people, you know? But now when I'm like in this position, I understand. It's like a parent, you know, parent punish the kid. It seems like well, in the modern society, people are like very against spanking the kid or like using any kind of force, you know, like harshness on the kid, right? There was like a YouTube short or a TikTok video, something like that. It's about the police. Like there are like two police. They arrived at the house and then knocked the door and they said, well, someone reported that, you know, there's like child abuse here and what's going on. And then they asked the mother, the mother said, well, I didn't call the police. And then the son came out and said, I called the police. You know, she was whipping me with this belt. And then he said, well, I was like not going to school. And then she came back and whipped me with the belt and so on. The police was like, taking the belt and say, well, you called the police on your mother for like disciplining you, you know, go smack him again. You know, that was like a pretty good story, eh? Lots of people are like really against spanking or hitting the kid, but you know, there are times that you really need to scare the kid to make them realize what they're doing is actually wrong. You can't give them too much power, you know, like too much freedom, too much sugar, right? It can spoil them. And I don't understand why people think that, you know, you have to be nice and friend with the kid. You know, it's impossible. If the kids are like rebellious, right, and you keep being nice and using positive, they will just take advantage of it and, you know, they won't change. That's the fact. They won't change. And there are like so many kids in the Western side these days that are like so spoiled. They don't have good virtue. They like treat their parents as like their friend and they just call them by the name. It's so disgusting, right? So the God teaching us, we are disciples. How can the God just teach us by giving us good, positive, sugar, you know, all that stuff? It's going to spoil us, right? You deserve some bad luck. Well, the God will give you some bad luck. You need to see the reality, right? You can't just like, you know, be protected and then be like a greenhouse flower, you know, like always protected and always like the best condition, always in your comfort zone. It's not possible, right? The God will have to hit you. It's just part of the discipline, right? It's part of the teachings. But will the God actually hurt you? Like actually like really hurt you? Well, not really. Like the main thing is like they're there to teach you, right? Giving you the harshness, like the mom trying to whip you with a belt, but the mom is not gonna like kill you with the belt, right? Like if the mom really wants to hurt you, she can just strangle you with the belt, or maybe cut you with a knife, right? But why does the mom just whip you with the belt and not like strangle you or, you know, choke you with it? Well, because she just wants you to feel the pain so that you know you're doing something wrong. And you know, as a child or, you know, as a disciple, you got to realize that the God is actually there teaching you. That means that God is still loving you, right? Once the God don't care and let you go, the God don't even touch you because like they are already like, oh, you're hopeless, you know, they don't want to touch you anymore. Oh, me as a master teaching the disciples, I feel that myself as well. Sometimes, you know, there are disciples that are so hopeless that like I don't even want to talk to them. Just put them there, you know, let them be. That's basically how it feels like, you know, like they're so hopeless. There's no way to fix them. You just put them there and let them rot, you know, just like that. But when I still care, I will scold people. I will be like screaming at them. I will like, telling them that what they're doing is wrong, and I'll let them know that they're actually doing something bad. In our teachings, like our scriptures and things, there are like some scripture that actually talked about the rules of our celestial court, like how the God works. And there's one thing that talked about like there are all these rules, and the human master are supposed to teach the disciples. But sometimes when the human like are restricted, like you cannot really do anything about it. Like teaching people by distance, right? They're far away, and I cannot really physically do anything to them. So, well, like if they decided to, let's say, hide away and not show up and so on, right? What can I do, right? I can't do anything. Then the God will kick in and take over and do whatever it takes to teach that disciple. So this is something in the book, in the rule, of like in the system of the lineage. And once you're a Taoist, you got to know that, you're trying to become a better person. You're trying to become a Taoist, right? Taoists have to follow the rules that a Taoist have to follow. Because why? Well, you're a police now. You got a gun. Shouldn't there be tools? Shouldn't there be like rules to, discipline you and control you so that you won't be like, running around playing with your gun and then bullying people and doing things like that, right? You got to be disciplined so that you can actually hold on to that power that you have. Well, as a Taoist, you have your magic power. You have the Taoist magic, right? Well, you have the magic power. Then if you're like poorly disciplined, you don't have virtue and things like that, you could be hurting other people with your powers. You can be like doing damage to other people or like hurting other people like that. And the Tao cannot let that happen. We got to have the responsibility of like, okay, we give you this great power, but you also need to be disciplined. You have to follow these rules. That's the game plan, You want this, you have to follow these, right? It's just like you enter a company, they hire you, pay you, and you got to follow their policy too, right? It's the same thing. So when you are being a Taoist, you will be taught and given these rules in the lineage. And it's no surprise. In China, the other Taoism sects, like the more, like the traditional sect, they all have these rules. No surprise. And I'm not sure if like those Westerners who actually go to China to learn Taoism, I'm not sure if they're aware of that at all, because it's very restrictive. Like in China, one of the big sect, not naming which one, right? Well, first, when you're like a believer, you already have like the 10 Commandments, and they're like something you cannot do and so on. If you level up, to become a senior, there are more and more and more. And if you're like one of those high-level Taoists, you have like thousands of rules to follow, and you need to memorize those. There's like an exam there to memorize. It goes like 100 rules, and then there's like this 300 rules, and then there's this 1,000 rule, and you got to memorize them. So you guys who are like in the Western side and like always say, oh, Taoism is about, nature, going with the flow, doing some Tai Chi. Bullshit. It's not like that, okay? In China, you go learn Taoism from the traditional sect. They have huge restriction on the disciples that are actually learning. It's not a joke. You got to go through exams. They will test you. And if you got like, you break rules and you got caught, they punish you. They actually hit you. It's pretty much like the old school way. And well, here when I'm teaching in our lineage, I can't really hit you physically because we're online, right? Like teaching you by distance. But that is also why the God said, well, if human cannot deal with it, the gods are going to kick in and give them the kick or the whip, right? Because the God needs to teach them like that. So you see, it's not just me here. It's every sect like that, right? The more power you're given, the more restriction you need, because it's like you just cannot mess around with this thing. It's like you work with high power stuff, There's like a lot of things you cannot do. You have to be aware of, and like for example, you're like driving a car, right? Look, there's so many things you cannot do with a car too, right? You can just park anywhere. You have restriction, right? Like you cannot always turn on like the highest headlight or whatever when you're driving. Or like, oh, you cannot left turn here. You cannot do this. So many things you cannot. Why do I get restricted? Well, because, for everyone's safety, right? As a Taoist, you are given that power, the magic power that allows you to work with, like spiritual side of things. You can like, for example, if you fire out your power somewhere, you can hurt a ghost or a spirit in the other world if you're not careful, right? So if you don't have the good virtue, eventually you will become like a virus in the society. So you need to follow the rules, and that's why the gods are there to teach you. And throughout the years, when I first learned about these things from my uppers, from the gods, I was like, okay, we know, we understand, but it's not like we actually have seen how the god actually deal with people yet. But then now, after so many years, I actually have seen the examples from like real cases where disciples got kicked and things like that, and power taken away and things like that. I've seen it myself, and I can tell you that, it's really, really real. So on this important day, lunar October 15th, that is like the anniversary for the water official, right? That's like the time to submit your letter and tell things, like give your feedback, tell the gods stuff in your heart. For example, you can say what you want for the next year, or most importantly, what you have done this year that you feel is wrong, according to, like, go back to the rules, right? Go back to like 10 commandments, 5 virtues, and things like that. Those things you learn. Go back to those things and then look at what you have been doing not so good about. Do a self-reflection letter and then say, I will aim to improve. I will try to improve this coming year. And so, most importantly, I beg for the amnesty to not get the actual punishment and penalty right away. And I wish to beg for a chance to improve myself. Once you send that letter, and if you're truthful, right, the God will let you go and free you up for that meanwhile you can have the time to correct and to do better. Then that means in the coming year, you basically from now to the next October 15, that's the time you're given to actually make changes. So don't just remember the letter. Remember to actually make the changes, right, for the coming year. So if you promise that you will change, and the next year you're when the God is here again, and they're so you got this problem last year, and the whole year, and you're still the same. Well, it's time to give you the whip, right? So you got to remember, it's not just submitting the letter that's fine, It's not just saying it, you got to do it, right? You make a plan, how can I do better? Then you start working on it, and next year you do better, the gods are going to be happy. If you didn't and you stay, doing your same old stuff, and then the god's not going to happy, they will not like you and they will give you the whip. Once the god decided to give you a whip, you will taste what it feels like, what I say, punished by the god. If you go to my blog, you can search up one thing. It's God punishes, and one more is thunder magic. Search up in my blog. You can read about the 5 thunders crashing on you, what that means, and it will actually have a lot of effect on you, right? You can feel all that stuff, and it will do some impact on you. And if you don't care, eventually the God will be you don't want to change? Okay, fine. We'll give up on you and kick you out. When the God kicks you out, that's the time when you say, you will feel so strongly that you don't want to continue cultivating anymore, and that's the end of the journey. Well, wait a minute. Is that actually the end? Some people are I quit. That's it. What else can I lose, right? You forgot one thing that you need to know, right? Before you ordain, you don't have any magic power in you, right? there's like none of this power. Once you're gone, your body have once possessed this special power. There are residue of that power in your body. But at the same time, because you're ordained, the gods have this protection on you, you'll be fine. But without the protection, you will be like a piece of juicy meat walking around. And that makes you an easy target for, or I should say, attractive target for those evil spirits who are like going around finding, their target to like suck on. And they will tap on you and suck your energy away and want to like do things to you to manipulate you. That means you will become a very easy and attractive target, being attacked by these evil spirits. And it's not like I quit and that's it. It's like you quit, okay, now you're like, you were once a cop, and the bad guys, the gangs and stuff are afraid of you because they know you have police force behind you supporting you. Now there's no more. So they want to come in revenge, right? They want to kick your butt. So that's basically how it feels like. So once you are out, you will be like easily targeted by things. And that's like a person who is like always being bothered by spiritual problem and things like that. That is not fun. And of course, with all that stuff disturbing you and attacking you all the time, well, because you're out, there's no more protection. There's no more ways to deal with it. There's no more power for you to fight back. And it feels pretty hopeless because like you're being bothered, but there's no way to fight back. All you can do is just accept that your life is just like that. You always get bullied by evils, always like get bad luck because the evils are always around, and you always feel tired because the evils are always around. Well, too bad you chose that road that way, right? So yeah, that's basically how it is. When people are being kicked by the god, it's definitely not smart. So you might have one more question, and that is, well, can a person be a Taoist and then like kind of, withdraw themselves safely without all that problem? Well, yes. There are some cases where like people nicely, just say they want to withdraw and ask and so on. Well, yeah, they can, okay? But, okay, there's a but, okay? But the reason need to make sense. Right? If the reason is not making any sense to the gods, then it's just the same thing, right? But if you have a reason, for example, like your mom forced you to get out of it, and you cannot really do anything about it right now. Well, you can't really do anything about it, then too bad, right? Like that exceptional, right? That because your mom is like forcing you, and you can't really overpower her yet, things like that. Well, too bad, right? That kind of situation, fine. But there are like many situations that people just decided to like, I want to give up. And well, most of the time, that kind of situation, it's all because the Tao is kicking them already and they are not doing anything about it. And so eventually it leads to that point where like they actually get out of the lineage. So up to this point, just, a warm, sweet tip for my disciples. Whenever you are free, you should go back and read the 10 Commandments, 5 virtues, and those rules that you were given. If you see yourself going like off track and suddenly doing a lot of things that is like going against these rules, then it's pretty much the sign to let you know that you have been doing wrong. You have been doing something wrong, and it's time to get help. Don't try to think about it, because the more you think, the more confused you are, because you're already like drowning. So the way is you need to find me to help you, to give you the solution to fix the problem. Right? That's why you got a master. The master is here to help you when you're going through the hurdles. However, it all goes back to the 3 main things: the trust, faith, and determination. Right? If you have the trust and faith in me, then you will listen to what I say and do it, and you will fix the problem. However, some people, they lose trust and faith in me. So even I say something, they're like, nah, I'll think about it. Well, when you do that, it's not going to be fixed. It's going to go all the way down and down and down, and eventually you're done. So remember, trust, faith, determination. It's very important. It's a big lifesaver. Okay, so up to this point, I hope that you guys are understanding about like all these things and how God teach the human. If you have any question, feel free to write in the comment section and so on. And of course, if you want to ordain and be a Taoist today, you can go to our website, teenagedragon.com, and get ordained today. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.